GHX is changing the entire seed experience to maximize your yield potential. And we have the numbers to prove it. Across 20 trials in Iowa, G11 V76D brand out-yielded Pioneer products by a 4.6 bushel per acre average in 2024. Get more local yield results at goldenharvestseeds.com/corn yield.
Trophy include Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty and Colorado wide receiver and defensive back Travis Hunter, also Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward.
It's time.
You know what time it is?
The game for Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best. Always is to win a national championship.
It's something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
And a big good afternoon to you. Welcome into the game. T-Town Tide at 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. We're going to spend a great deal of our time today evaluating the offensive side of the football. I want to go back and I'm going to take your phone calls on the grades. What would you grade the offensive side of the football? When you look at Nick Sheridan, when you look at Jalen Milroe, when you look at Kalen DeBoer, when you look at everything. I mean, there's certain elements of this when you talk about hiring a staff in February, with when you think about Ron Grubb leaving here, offensive line coach leaving, going back to Seattle to work in the NFL. You evaluate all those things, and we're going to dive into this today. And the reason why we're going to do this is we're going to talk with Mike Detillier coming up at 2:15. We're going to feature Mike Detillier, WWL, the big 870. Mike Detillier is going to join us. We'll also talk with Coach Tony Franklin. Coach Tony Franklin is going to be a part of our show. He'll be joining us at 3 o'clock. And then George Teague is going to help us honor Antonio Langham. Antonio Langham going into the College Football Hall of Fame later today. He'll help us honor his teammate. George Teague will be with us coming up at 4:30. So we'll schedule our guest out from 2:15, 3 o'clock with Tony Franklin, and then 4:30 we'll talk with George Teague. We'll take your phone calls. We are always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. I'm curious where you're at when you look at it. Are you getting over the college football playoff? Because I know there's still a lot of people there discussing that on the social network sides, but I think a lot of people now have shifted about rebuilding, right? You look at rebuilding this football team, trying to find a way to go to the portal. I did see a couple of minutes ago that someone had put up some information on the collective, and I was actually shocked a little bit at the numbers that Alabama maybe not as behind as what you would think. Adam Brenneman is a guy that was a tight end. I think he lists on his CFB analyst on CBSSports.com. He's host of Next Up with Adam. He was a 3-time All-American tight end D1 coach. So I think he came here and did a sit down with one of the coaches back. But he put up a tweet a couple of minutes ago, and he was talking about Indiana raising $13 million in the NIL fund. Now, that grabs your attention a lot of different ways. But then when you click on the icon, even though this is not about Alabama, Power 5 schools, public universities, not private, so private don't have to disclose it. Like Vanderbilt is the only private school in the Southeastern Conference. They don't have to reveal this, but they're really not in this conversation anyway. But when you start looking at the 2023-24 collective funding, the collective funding, it is Texas at number one with $22 million. $22 million. Ohio State, the Big Ten, at $20 million. Okay? So number 2, LSU. Now, hold on. I don't know if this really matches up. LSU sitting here with $20 million in their collective. Georgia is 4. Georgia's at 4 at $18 million. And then Texas A&M at $17 million. And then Michigan, which we know that, but the problem is the collective doesn't tell the entire story. But Michigan at $16 million, and then here comes Alabama with $15 million. Now, I think if you look at that collective, I think that's a collective for all sports, right? The way I look at it, because I'm sure Alabama doesn't say, hey, we're only going to support on the football side of things. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. And then when you go through, we won't read out every different dollar figure, but Florida's next, Clemson's next, Oklahoma's after that, Penn State, Indiana, and then Michigan State. Now, that is collective funding. You almost hear the word donor fatigue. Donor fatigue. First time I'd ever heard that word, I was on a teleconference with Tommy Tuberville. Some of it was off record, but this particular person, this particular part of it was not off record, so we can discuss it. It was, and many times there are a lot of the political questions, which I have an interest. I like to hear about what's happening out in the real world. But Tommy Tuberville was talking about donor fatigue. And the way that he explained donor fatigue is he said, you go to a donor, pretend that a head coach goes to a donor or assistant coach or offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. He goes to the head coach and he says, head coach goes to this big booster and he says, hey, I need $1 million. I can get this big 5-star player and we're going to be able to turn our entire program around. Okay, no problem. Here's $1 million. Now that's easier said than done, but here's $1 million. Then all of a sudden, next year, they go 7-5. That wasn't a program. It was not a program flipper. It was not the momentum that you thought it was. Then all of a sudden, you go back to that guy. He says, I tell you what, the market value is going to take me another $1 million, and I can be able to get this guy. And that's going to be able to change the culture of this said university. So now I've got $2 million in. Third year, I guess you can now begin to say, I'm not going to be able to put any money in that. And so I think when you see this, donor fatigue, it's a new word, right? Donor fatigue. And I wonder if you look at the world of college football, the NIL, how much are you going to be able to say, yes, add me into that collection, add me into that. And to stay at the top, you better be able to throw in a lot of cash in the NIL side of things. We got Mike Detillier coming up here in just a couple of minutes. He'll join us. Tony Franklin, do not miss the conversation at 3 o'clock. We'll feature Coach Tony Franklin, and then at 4:30, we'll feature George Teague to honor Antonio Langham going into the College Football Hall of Fame. We'll relive those days coming up in just a couple of minutes. Mike Detillier joins us next. Tuscaloosa Toyota powers the program, 3325 Skyline Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. Mike Detillier joins us. Just a couple package. I had a package show up yesterday that said it was going to be, it was delivered on November the 26th. I don't know where it was at. I don't know where the package spent the last 2 weeks.
Ryan, I got one better than that. 2-day priority mail. Last Monday.
Yes.
It got shipped from Thibodaux to New Orleans.
Which is about an hour. About an hour.
To St. Rose, which is 45 minutes. You know where it ended up? Sacramento, California, before it got to Baton Rouge. It's just getting there today. 2-day priority.
Help!
My thing is, who the hell come up with this convoluted deal to send a 2-day priority mail package from St. Rose to Sacramento, California? I blame it all on the politicians. They did everything to save the postal system that was already screwed up. So now they're redirecting mail. All these morons. Every one of them.
They should have just let it fail and go private. Go private. I mean, it's...
Exactly.
Amen.
And it would be 50 times better than this. A 2-day priority mail from Thibodaux, I could have walked there quicker than that.
Oh, Mike. Hey, listen, I mean, everybody out here in the radio land is nodding. Yes. They all agree with you, Mike. That's one thing that can bring SEC fans together. Mike, and we'll call that a PSA. For anybody that's shipping a package to Christmas, do it now. Don't wait until December the 20th or the 18th. You don't want to take a chance. Mike is doing a PSA. Ship it today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, today. Yes, Mike, that's great PSA. College Football Selection Committee, Mike, you're an SEC guy. Did they get it right? did they get it wrong?
Brian, at halftime of that SMU game, we had a Christmas parade pass right in front of my house. So, you got to deal with grandkids and kids and people. And I got a 93-year-old aunt who thinks she's 33 years old. So, man, I got my hands full. And I didn't watch much of the first half, but I saw the score. I was like, Alabama's in. Alabama's in. And then I watched the second half, and I'm like, you know what? Because of that, SMU's going to get in. It did not surprise me one bit. Bobby and I talked about it, just talking Sunday morning. And he was like, what you think? I said, I think SMU's in. And sure enough, it got in. And, it's the way the rules are now. I get why SMU's in. But I do think, Ryan, they're going to have to put something in place to look at strength of schedule. I don't know how much they look at that entirely, but I do think that has to be taken into major consideration. And, who did SMU beat? Okay? Who did they beat? Now, the first thing people say, well, Alabama lost to an average Oklahoma team in Vanderbilt. Okay, yeah, you're right about all of that. The way the rules are structured today, it did not shock me, but it has to change. And maybe something bad, like in anything else in life, something bad has got to happen or not right for you to change something. I think what we saw Sunday, they will rewrite those rules. I thought about it immediately, Ryan. Year one, when they, were getting the Final Four, Archie Manning was on the committee. He resigned and gave his spot up. And so, I asked him, I said, Arch, why'd you do that? He said, Mike, I'm not sure what some of these people are voting on. Because he said it doesn't pass the eye test. And he said, before I get caught in any controversy, I'm out. I'm out of this. Hey, I told Arch, it's one of the smartest things you ever did. One of the smartest things you ever did. And you could see why. This is convoluted. And I get the argument for SMU. I understand it. I don't agree with it.
Well, Mike, I used Arch Manning yesterday. I said, I'm telling you guys, and I didn't know what you just said. I said he smelled a rat. He walked in and he smelled a rat. He said, no thanks. I'm off this committee before they ever met. He said, never mind. Thanks, but no thanks. He got out of that committee, which is, as you said, smart, highly intelligent. Maybe that's the problem. They've got such a watered-down committee. Mike, have you looked at that roster of committee members?
I see it. I see it. And Archie was like, okay, I understand they wanted a diverse group of people, but how much of all these people have knowledge of football and the overall knowledge that it would take? And like he said, listen, the same controversy that we're having in 12, we had in 4, we're going to have it at 16, we go to 24. And he's absolutely right. There's going to be arguments across the board. I do think you're going to have to regulate how this is getting selected and also put into place the deal of strength of schedule involved. Because if that's the case, all I'm worried about is wins. I don't worry about who I'm playing. I just want wins. And that seems to be – not every conference is the same, okay? And I understand that. Not every conference is the same. But, man, I think about if this had went to 16, could you have left South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama out? And I bet one of them would have got left out. If you're using this system, using the system you have in place, one of those three would have gotten left out. Arch told me, Mike, I agree with you. It wouldn't have gotten all three in, even if you'd have went to 16. Who wants to play South Carolina? Ain't nobody want to play them. Not the way they playing down the stretch. Ole Miss, maybe, is the best defensive team. I told this to Deuce McAllister. Best defensive team I've seen in 30 years at Ole Miss. It's like, Mike, you got no argument with me on that. And yet, they watching just like Alabama is. Same deal.
Mike, how much of this is a reflection on Greg Sankey?
Well, I think this is a shot over his bow that, hey, we're going to tell you, you're not going to control us. Not going to control us. I think that was a little bit involved with that. Bob and I talked about it last night on the show, and he's like, do you think this is sort of repercussions because of the power Greg Sankey has? And I'm like, anybody who's ever had any kind of control or power, you got some people that's going to push back on you. I think the committee got not one hand on him, both. Got both hands on him.
Now, hold on, Mike. You're saying it, okay, you're saying it in a different way, but I like what you're saying. You're saying that the committee's trying to control him.
Yes.
Okay, I was looking at it from his ego standpoint that he basically agreed to go to this 12 team, and he buckled because he wanted the best teams. He didn't want the most deserving and all the and his ego kind of took a power punch. But I like the way you're saying it because I think that could also be a different angle, and I like it.
I do think there are people that, I don't want to use the word hate, but they don't like him very much and feel as though he is the biggest power broker in college football. And, you know, Tim Brandel is on our show often, and we agree on a lot of things, Timmy and I, but, man, he can't stand Greg Sankey at all. I mean, Timmy goes off on him. And he did make a comment to me one time about that there eventually one day it's going to be a backlash with him. Eventually one day there's going to be a backlash at Sankey. I think we saw it Sunday.
And we saw it Saturday night when Kirby Smart popped him in the mouth right there on that championship stage. I mean, that was, woo!
Got done. And I do think, though, this is the committee's kind of version of shooting him the middle finger. I think this is it. I think that was what you saw, what happened Sunday. You're not going to tell us what to do. We're going to tell you. And you agreed to it. So you can't say nothing. Now, I think he agreed to it kind of kicking and screaming, but I think that this was the deal with him. This was the deal. And I've heard it from way too many people, Brian, that they feel as though that this is kind of because of him not wanting to do certain things, SEC expanding it to 9 SEC teams. And also, he's got more power, and I think you'd agree, than any other individual in college football today. And I don't think it's close, Ryan. I don't think it's close. So you know what this is? Sort of like Congress telling the president, okay, you want to send that bill to us? Okay, we're going to vote it down. We're going to vote it down. And that's, I think, what you saw Sunday. I think it was evident that was part of it. And I think he'd like to go out on the offensive about it, but he can't because he agreed to do it. So now you caught. Like a turtle's you know what.
Yeah, I mean, you give us a lot of things right there to think about when you look at it. So I'm looking at the fan bases that are upset with Greg Sankey, and when you're in a leadership role, you're never going to make people happy. Okay, I get that. All right. So we go Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss. Is LSU mad at Greg Sankey? I mean, everybody is for the officiating. I mean, the officiating was trash this year. And he went on and gaslighted and said that he was above average, Mike. He said it was above average.
Then he needs LASIK more than I do. That's the case.
He said it was above average, Mike. He said it was above average. I kid you not. Public platform.
Again, he probably needs the LASIK surgery a lot worse than I do. No, LSU fans isn't a bitch with Sankey today. It's more of a bitch with Brian Kelly. He's number one on the list now.
Really? They're upset? They're upset at Kelly?
Oh, my God. Okay, because he sort of publicly came out and said, look at where I've been before, and year 3 has been the year that I've been able to kind of put the key in the ignition, and it works right. And this is what you got in year 3. You got thrashed by Alabama. The only time you was in that contest is when you kicked the ball off. That was it. That was it. You got beat by a middle-of-the-road Florida team. I mean, USC, they were an average team at best, and you got beat by them. But at best. And so he got a lot of splaining to do, so to speak, to these LSU fans. And he's the one that said, we will not be aggressive in the transfer portal. I want to build this team through high school players. I met up with him, one-on-one with him. He did a speech. I told him, Coach, it's not going to work today. It's just not. You're going to have to use the transfer portal. But he gave a big press conference to say that, you know, he was going to be very sporadic transfer portal. On National Signing Day, you know, was the first thing that came out of his mouth? I'm going to be heavily involved in the transfer portal. Okay, it took you 3 years to figure that out. Hell, I'm not even the coach, and I figured it out real quick. And so he was giving his mea culpa to a certain extent because he ain't apologizing for crap, nothing. But he was begging for money. Okay, people who have money to give to LSU to help in the NIL deal. No, LSU fans, their ire is not on Greg Sankey. It is definitely centered Brian Kelly.
Mike Detillier, WWL, the Big 870. Mike, I want to read off a stat, and I want to hit you with it, but I want to ask you about it because we're grading the offensive side of the football in Tuscaloosa, okay?
Okay.
Mike, Jalen Milroe against SEC teams. He had 5 passing touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Is that stat misleading?
No, it didn't surprise me because actually I saw that stat. We have a pretty good producer with us, and he's the biggest Jalen Milroe fan in the world.
Bigger than you? Bigger than you, Mike?
Oh yeah, because he went to University of Alabama. Okay. I didn't go to University of Alabama. Okay, because people say, oh, you sometimes biased for LSU. Hell, I didn't go to LSU. Okay, you can't throw that at me. I didn't go to LSU. He had yelling it out. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, 5 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I was like, okay, I can read. Why you put the yellow in it? It doesn't look good. Okay, it's reality. I think it goes to show his erratic nature this year. In a year that I thought he could have a breakthrough year, it did not happen. Didn't happen for Jalen. And doesn't sometimes he shows moments of brilliance?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He looks like the number 1 overall pick. I mean, he looks like and then all of a sudden he looks like a guy that needs 2 years of more seasoning.
He looks like a guy that should be the 3rd string. So which one's the real McCoy here? Which one's the real guy? I've probably gotten more phone calls about him than any other player in the SEC.
Really?
Because I think, it's a mixed bag that you like some parts of his game, but some parts you don't. Is it fixable? I always tell this to people. They always got a Dr. Phil in the NFL. I can fix him. I can fix him. Now, the one thing I give Jalen great credit for is he works his butt off.
Absolutely.
Yep. He puts in a lot of time, a lot of effort. Is it maybe you haven't hit it right how to use him? Or is that the Milroe you're going to see in the NFL too, where you will have moments of brilliance and moments of what happened? I sort of think it's the latter. I don't know, and somebody may be able to fix some of the flaws, but all it takes is one guy, one team for you to convince them. One, that you're a first-round pick and in a need area in the NFL. They probably got 14 teams that really are looking to upgrade their quarterback position. I still think he's going to go in round one, right? It's just, okay, and a lot of people, and even Brando told me, Mike, can't be. But he said, you know much more about the draft than I'll ever know. But he said, once you said there's always the Dr. Phil and there's always going to be one team, take that chance.
And I'm telling you, Mike, he's going to blow you away in the interview process. I'm telling you, he will. I was watching last night the William Campbell interview that they had sent us on a press release, and I'm literally, the lady's puzzled because he will blow you away in an interview. He will charm those NFL GMs. He will have those guys wrapped around his finger, and then he's going to go out to the NFL Combine, and he's going to just absolutely, his measurables are going to be off the charts.
I tell this to people often. And can you win the off season if you're a senior coming out for the draft, or if you're a junior and you've decided you're going to come out? I had that conversation with about 4 people over the weekend who are deciding what they want to do. I never tell them stay or come out. I just give them where I think they'll go in the draft. But I always end it with this: if you decide to come out, you got to win the off season. And they always give me this peculiar look like, what the hell are you talking about? No, there is the regular season and the off season. I think Jalen will win the off season. And maybe more wins than he had at Alabama this year. I'm honest. I'm honest with that. And my thing is, if some team thought Tim Tebow was going to be an NFL quarterback, then I think Milroe's one too. No, I'm honest. It just took one. It just took one team. And it does happen in this league, and you see it that way, and I agree with you totally. When he's going to get in these one-on-ones and the individual workouts, we probably had 24 what I say are NFL quarterbacks that'll play in the NFL one day at Manning. You know who spent the most time with Milroe? And I told you, Bill Belichick. He stayed and watched Milroe than any other guy. Anybody else, he stayed and watched him because he put on a show throwing the football at Manning. Now, he wasn't getting rushed. He was, it was pitch and catch. But there is that second season, Ryan, and I think he wins it.
Mike, what grade would you give Alabama's offensive, the entire offense? What grade would you give them this year when you look at offensive production?
I'd probably give it a B-. At times it looked really good. Other times it was rather average. The offensive line almost, didn't it sort of mirror the quarterback play? When you won up front, you won the games. When you lost up front, you lost. It really was surprising to see the erraticism in the play up front along the offensive line. Man, having Ryan Williams, that almost gets you to A. I mean, because that dude is a tilt-the-field player. And people have asked me, who you would compare him to. And the first thing it popped to mind, first time I saw him play with Alabama, Lynn Swann. I saw him at USC. I'm old enough for that. I'm old enough. I saw Lynn when he was at SC. That's who he reminds me of. To contort his body, to come up with a one-handed catch or catch a ball between arms and hands, and he ends up with it. Reminds me of Swann. But, the running game, I think, was disappointing. I think a lot of that had to do with the offensive line play. And you saw the differences in some games over the other. So I'd give him a B- grade. I think I'm fair with that.
Well, and Mike, it just seems to be a lot of frustration when you look, and we'll see. I mean, Kalen DeBoer made a comment that he appreciated the unselfishness of the wide receivers this year. I mean, it was a mind-blowing comment. It was like, whoa, wow. It was pretty crazy, but he said he appreciated the unselfishness of the wide receivers, understanding that this is not the true offensive identity.
Yeah, and my thing is, what is the identity? I mean, that to me, what I saw him do at Washington, I'd seen him do at other places. That offense was not the same.
It was not.
As it was at Alabama. It was not. It was not the same at all. And so, my thing is, what's your identity today? But you got to do one thing very well if you're a good offense. You got to have something you can hang your hat on. Do you run the ball real well to the strong side? Do you have a tight end that can stretch the middle of the field? Do you have a receiver that can knock the top off coverage? Do you have a mobile quarterback that can make plays with his feet? We saw what Jaden Daniels did 2 years ago with the worst defense I've ever seen at LSU in my lifetime. And I'm 64 years old. So I have seen quite a few of them, the very worst. And he carried that team on his back. But, man, Ryan, that to me, I think is still a major question mark for Kalen. Of what is his identity as an SEC coach offensively? And can you get those guys like that in the SEC? Or do you have to change your offense?
I think they've got their quarterback. I think when you look at the number 2 overall player, and you look at this quarterback room with Dylan Lonergan, Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, I mean, you got a 4-horse race as long as none of those guys hit the portal, assuming Jalen Milroe comes out of the college side of things and goes to the NFL. No indication. I've heard from different things, but I don't know anything that I want to report at this point. But when you look at it, I think he's going to groom his system. I think it'll be 2025 will look a lot different than it did in 2024. I think he hit the ground running, and you got to remember, he just hired his staff completely in late February. So
the other thing is, if you think coaches change, look at what Brian Kelly was running at Notre Dame and what he runs at LSU.
Great point.
He adjusted, and he had told me, because he'll always give me the Michael. I told him the only person that ever called me that full time was my mom. But he'll always give me that Michael. Because of the athletes I have here, I had to change offensive philosophy. I had to change it. And, Ryan, I think you're going to see DeBoer change. I really think we are seeing the early stages of him starting to change his offense. It did with Kelly. He didn't have no offense like what he's had at LSU. At Notre Dame, didn't have those type of athletes. Nothing close. And so he had to adapt a little differently.
Mike Detillier, WWL, the Big 870. Mike, I appreciate you, man. Have an awesome show this afternoon with you and Bobby Hebert and company on WWL. Thank you again. Appreciate you, man.
Bobby's holding up a sign that says, "I got your package." So I know exactly what he means. He might have my Bo Jackson helmet. Good.
If not, I can give you Bo's number. I don't ever feature him on the show, but you can have it. You can get him on the show and get you an autograph, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, man.
It
It was.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Mike, we're going on a rant about the post office. I mean, he did a free-for-all Friday sponsored by Brian Hard Construction on a Tuesday. We'll feature George T coming up at 4:30. So Mike Detillier talking about as far as a draft side of things, offering a lot of praise for Jalen Milroe. Mike Detillier a couple of minutes ago, but all it takes is one when you look at the NFL draft. Will he go or will he stay? That's going to be the debate. If you're asking me my gut feeling, I think he goes to the NFL. If you ask me, do I know? No, I don't know. I don't have any information. Zero. But we'll have some player availability at some point in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure that will be discussed on the 10th day of December. Grandpa Jay, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
I'm doing good, Ron. How are you?
Good. We're grading the offense. Professor Grandpa Jay.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've done some analysis. It wasn't for the offense. I got some done. But you made a statement very early on in the show. You used the word rebuild. And I know the majority of Alabama fans say Alabama doesn't rebuild, we reload, which there's some truth to that. But, sometimes you got to kind of peel back the layers of the onion, right? So I just, over the past few weeks, I've kind of been playing around with a spreadsheet and just looking at guys who left or no longer here from last year's team. And one of the positions that I did was the defensive back group. And it may kind of explain some of the struggles and some of the need to have a little bit of patience going forward. And I'll just kind of run down it real quick. So guys we lost last year, Kool-Aid McKinstry was a starter. Caleb Downs, starter, is at Ohio State. Terrion Arnold, starter in NFL. Kristen Story, I believe he provided some second-team reps.
He did. He did.
Jalen Key was a 7th-round draft choice. He started some games last year. Trey Amos started a game or two last year. He's at Ole Miss. The Kite kid that just got bounced at Auburn or transferred or whatever. Then you got Earl Little Jr., who provided some depth last year, is at FSU. Jake Pope is at Georgia.
My heavens, I mean, you almost went through this. I mean, you're going through.
Wow. I'm not done yet. And then you got Tony Mitchell, who was dismissed. Des Ricks, who is at Texas A&M. And at one point of the season, I heard, listening to part of one of their games, we was having an all-SEC type season. Had several interceptions, that kind of stuff. And then you have Peyton Woodyard, who transferred to Oregon. So that right there, let's see, that's, 12 guys that I just listed off there. Okay, so I'm about to give you another list, and this is not an indictment on these kids at all. Just kind of the facts of it. All right, so Bavani Jackson comes in, and he's a starter. Xavier Brown, true freshman, starter. Keon Sabb, starter. King Mack provides some depth. Jones provided some depth. Jalen Mbakwe has started a couple of games. Xavier Mincy's provided some depth, and Red Morgan. All right. And then also Devontae Smith. So that you had 12, right? And then you brought in 9. Okay, so there's a deficit there. And of those 9 that I just mentioned, Xavier Brown, Keon Sabb, Devontae Smith, and Red Morgan have all faced injury issues throughout the season at different times or the other. And of those 9 guys, 4 are true freshmen. Not red shirt, not had a year in nobody's system, not had a year in college football or anything like that, true freshmen. So, and I got part of the offensive line done, not completely done playing with that one, but you lost Seth, who's a starter at Ohio State.
A Remington finalist, by the way. Congratulations to him. It was good. That's one of the portal benefits, right? Change of scenery is a good thing. I mean, he leaves here, A game that probably he wants to bury the tape, and he goes there and he's a Remington finalist as the top center in the entire country.
Absolutely. But then you lost Brockermeyer, who provided depth. He's the second-team guy last year. J.C. Latham, first-round NFL guy. Terrence Ferguson was a depth guy, second string last year for us. Darian Dalcourt had started while he was at Alabama, lost him to graduation. And I think something that needs to be pointed out, Caden Proctor, he's on the team, and he's back, but he wasn't here in the spring. So he's getting fed with the fire hose in the fall, right? And like I said, and then we brought in Parker and Gino, right? So, and there may be some more. Like I said, I'm just kind of fooling around with that yet. But the larger point I'm trying to make is when you got a whole staff turnover, and then you got all these new pieces. And look, rebuild is not nearly the nasty word that it used to be, because you got the transfer portal, and these things are going to happen a lot quicker than they do, in years gone by. But, if you want to know, hey, why does so-and-so not, why do we look like we're out of position? Why do we look like this? Well, it's not all just on a new system. Some of these kids, were in high school this time last year, and,
well, that's why I've been a very big fan of this coaching staff, because of so many freshmen that have been able to make an impact. You can't be a bad coach and get freshmen to play big-time football in the Southeastern Conference. It's not possible.
Well, and
they did. I mean,
I was listening to Mike Detillier there, and he was kind of putting some stuff on the offensive line, and I'm not putting it on anybody.
Well, and I didn't want to counter him because he's my guest, but Alabama did better than cutting their sack numbers in half. They had 44 last year. They had 19 this year.
Right. And look, I would submit that it's going to get better going forward. And that, but I just kind of, it's easy to say, well, hey, it's year one and, new system, new coaches and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But you know what? If you look at the data and the raw numbers just on the defensive back room, it'll
blow your mind. And I got to get to break because I got a Tony Franklin coming up here in just a second. You're supposed to have 18. They had 11 scholarship defensive backs.
Right. And so it's going to take a little time. And then it's not even just the numbers. You're talking about you lost 10 of those guys that we lost. 11 of those guys we lost last year were either starters or big-time contributors.
All right. So real quick, give me a grade, and I got to go because I'm after the top of the hour. I'm sorry.
You know what? I'll say this. I'll say B+.
B+. Got
it. The Bama standard doesn't change.
No, that's right. B+. So, all right. And then call back tomorrow, and we'll do the defense, and then we'll do the total grade on Thursday. So we'll do a little bit of a summary. Thank you, Grandpa Jay.
All right, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We'll continue with more of the. Welcome you right back into the game. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. Coach Tony Franklin, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm good. I want to hear you from a coaching standpoint. What'd you think about the selection committee?
Well, I think it was an impossible job no matter what. It was never going to please everybody, and I think that the way that the rules were written, it was kind of written in stone as to how it would happen. When you go through looking at strength of schedule, wins and losses, and all the other things that they throw in together, whatever decisions that they made, they were going to be wrong. It was never going to work. And so I think that they came out with something that is probably flawed no matter how they did it. And as a coach that has been at both SEC schools and Pac-12 schools, as well as Troy's and Louisiana Tech's and Middle Tennessee's, I'm glad to see Boise State get in. I'm glad to see SMU have an opportunity. At the same time, when you look at the strength of schedule, there's no doubt that playing an SEC schedule is is obviously much more difficult than playing whatever the Boise schedule is now, the Mountain West or whatever it's called these days. But, it is what it is. And so I think that as much criticism as they can receive, I think it goes back to, you look at the opportunities that somebody has when you go to Vanderbilt and you lose, or you go to Oklahoma, who's a bad Oklahoma team. They're not very good at all, and you lose it. And I'm I think you know this, I'm a big fan of Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a great football coach, but they certainly had an opportunity to play their way in. They didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at that Oklahoma game, but a lot has been said to different people. I heard Coach Saban on the coaches selection show, the college football selection show, and he made the comment, maybe a little bit of a challenge to get up every single week. How difficult is it to get up a team every single week?
Well, I think it's extremely difficult, but I also say this: everything's relative. You've got the best players in the world. And so, yeah, it's hard to get them up, but you know what? You can be at SMU and have a lot less talent, and you got to do the same thing. You got to get them up every week because everything is relative. The talent level that you've got versus the talent level that Alabama has is a unique and different thing. As the NFL experts have proven time and time again, the SEC is in a level by itself with the overall NFL talent that goes into there. So sure it is, but it's also, the same thing for Troy getting up to play Louisiana Lafayette and then turning around playing James Madison and then turning around and playing Coastal Carolina. Everything's relative. It's coaching matters. Coaching makes a difference. And, the bottom line is that when it all came down to it, Kirby Smart proved to be able to find a way with, the luck of somebody else losing, that when his time came, when Georgia's time came, the ability to win those games that he had to win in order to get into the position that they did, and Alabama didn't. Like I said, I'm a much bigger fan of Kalen DeBoer than I am of Kirby Smart, but, there's an old saying, the proof is in the printout. Those guys got the job done and got there, and Alabama didn't get there, as well as, other people throughout the country too.
Coach, how hard is it to install an off season in a calendar year? And less than a calendar year. And maybe I should have.
Yeah. Well, I had a conversation just a few days ago with a Division I head coach, and we were talking about all-season programs. And for example, there's something that college coaches do that I hate. I think it's the biggest waste of time in the world, and most every one of them do it, which is in the winter, basically they take them through hell for about, 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, it's just hell. It's just nothing but, it's like going to the Marines. We're trying to break them. And to me, it's a complete waste of time. But, these guys believe in it, so they do it and all that. Well, I was talking to a coach actually just yesterday, and he said, we don't do that anymore because what happens is that with the portal, we get guys in, like maybe we're on the quarter system, and we get guys in March that missed that hell month of just killing them. And like the other guys are going, why did we do this? We did this. This guy's walking in the door and not doing it, or a summer transfer's coming in. They didn't do it, and they're starting, and I'm not. And so I think that all of that off-season stuff has all dramatically changed. Because if I was a coach right now and I was recruiting against somebody that did that hell system where you just basically murder people for 3 or 4 weeks to build toughness and character, which is all BS, but they do it anyway, I would be recruiting heavily against that to say, you want to go do that? Or do you want to get better as a football player and go out and play good football? Because here we're not going to do that. So I think I think everything has had to change on how you build it, and it's different. I think the most important thing, I saw something that Arizona State did that I thought was really, that guy's done a pretty amazing job. And I know one of the assistants on that staff was one of the best high school coaches in the country that he hired, that he took a chance on and hired a guy with no college experience. And he's done a lot of things that are unique, but he talked about playing ping pong. He said they bring in recruits and they play ping pong. And if a guy gets beat and doesn't want to play anymore, quits, then they look at it as being something as a character flaw that maybe this guy isn't made for them. I think there's so many nuances now in this new era of football that everybody is having to learn. You know, Indiana, again, I know people say, well, they didn't play anybody. Well, it's not their fault. You know, they're in the whatever the Big Ten is called now. I don't even know what it's called anymore. But that guy brought in a bunch of new guys from James Madison, and they went out and they destroyed everybody except for, of course, the one game with Ohio State. And they said, well, they didn't play anybody. Yeah, but they played that schedule. That was the Big Ten schedule. It just turned out that this year that it wasn't very good. But he proved that his methodology for this new era of football, he knows what he's doing, and a lot of people don't. And so it's just everybody's, and I guarantee you this, everybody's going to study those programs, Arizona State and Indiana, and go, what'd you do? How'd you do it? How can we copy it?
All right. Coach Tony Franklin right now visiting with us. Coach, I want to ask you, when you look at bringing in portal guys, how much is the variance between offensive systems? Is there a lot, as much as what there used to be, because you're having to bring in new faces every single year?
Well, it depends, again, on where you are. There's some systems that are easier to learn. You know, for example, what Lane Kiffin does is excruciatingly simple. What USC does might be in a different way more complicated, especially in the passing game. So theoretically, Lane Kiffin, in the offensive system that he has, should be able to bring in a great player and it not be that big a deal as far as transition is concerned. There's not a universal language in college football as much as there is in the NFL. In the NFL, you can basically go from team to team to team to team, and there's almost a universal language that's used. And that's the biggest thing that's different in football is just the language, is how you call things. And so in colleges, there's a gigantic variation in language because there's also a gigantic variation in systems about what they do and how they get to whatever it is that they believe in. And that can vary dramatically from one place to the next. So it's important that, for example, for me, if I'm teaching a receiver, what I want the receiver to be able to do is to play fast and not think. If he thinks, he stinks. There's other places to where that a receiver, when he's running a route, is constantly having to adjust and modify based upon what the defense does. Well, that takes time. Sometimes it takes a guy 2 years, 3 years before he gets it. Well, now that's a gigantic disadvantage in the transfer portal. You want guys that can come in and immediately be able to do what their skill set is. So simpler is better, even more now than ever before.
Kalen DeBoer made a statement, and many times, I've listened to all press conferences from all across. I've covered Coach Saban for 17 years, and even coaches prior to that with Coach Mike Shula, Coach Fran, Mike Price, many coaches. And I know it's Coach Talk, but he was on a Zoom call on Sunday evening to preview the Alabama-Michigan game. And he made a comment about the wide receivers, and he said, I appreciate them being unselfish. I think they're aware, because there were so many guys that hit the portal out of that receiver room. He says, quote, I think they're aware that just our style this year, it was about whatever it took to win, end quote. Basically, to summarize, he basically said he's not running his offense. Is that a fair comment?
Well, without knowing, sometimes intention of what he said and what he meant, we don't really know. I don't think that there's any doubt that, based upon, you compare Michael Penix with Milroy, and there's not much comparison. It's two completely different types of football players. It doesn't mean that the styles are different and that somebody can't coach them, but they're definitely different. And so one may be more friendly towards receiver play and the other one may not be. When your best runner this season is the quarterback and he's going to take 12 to 15, 16 of those a game, then it's definitely going to take away from somebody that's going to throw the ball 40 times no matter what. And so, the thing is that everybody today, it used to be you just want to get the NFL to be your best where you can finally get a payday. Well, today you're going to get a payday in college, and some of it's big money that these guys are getting. And so I think that how young people think today is completely different than ever before, because they have to think about, well, okay, yeah, there's a big payday one day in the NFL if I'm, a first-round, second-round guy, or I become a great player. Amon St. Brown, fourth-round pick, $28 million a year contract now, but the first 3 years of his contract he's not, because he was a fourth-round pick. Well, today a guy can go, during my career, I can make, $1.5 to $2 million as being a number one receiver for a certain school. But maybe if I was at another school and only made $50,000, but I caught 100 balls and ended up being a first-round pick because I was able to show that skill set a little bit more, maybe I should think a little bit more about that. I think that last year, the quarterback at North Carolina that New England selected, he made a statement, where he gave up a lot of money. In the transfer portal, there was a huge amount of money for him to go, millions of dollars for him to go somewhere else for his final year. But he was a North Carolina kid. His brother played basketball there, et cetera. But I think part of the deal, too, was he knew he was going to be a top 5 pick. He's going to get, sure, maybe he lost $1 million. Maybe he lost $2 million. But in the long run, he's getting his money. And he didn't have to have that money at that time. So I think that there's so much more that goes into today for a young person to make those decisions. I think about this, there's kids right now, let's say, for example, at Middle Tennessee, where I coached, 5 years at different times, or 6 years, actually 5 once and another at another time. As I think about this, is that, they had the receiver that was the Auburn transfer, Omari Kelly, I think was his name. And, he wasn't playing much at Auburn, didn't get very many catches, anything else. Well, he goes to Middle, and he's lights out, one of the best receivers in college football. So now he's going to transfer again and probably go pick up, a $200,000 check somewhere. Whereas, in years gone by, he might have finished his career at Middle and, gone to the draft. He's like, okay, well, I got another year I got to play before I'm eligible for the draft. I might as well go make $500,000 or $200,000 or whatever it may be. So, it's the good and the bad. The good part is that young people are making some money while they're in school, and it's not just the coaches that have all the power over them. The bad thing is that it makes it a much more difficult thing for a loyal fan, especially a loyal Alabama fan, because there's no way that they look at this new age of football and like it. For me, I love it. I love the fact that I don't think the dominance that was once there by anybody is going to be there unless, again, they change the rules again, which, who knows. If Congress ever gets involved in it and they make changes, it'll look a lot different than it does now.
All right, let's go to Jalen Milroe when you look at the NFL. Coach, there's a big debate here. Should he come back for another year, or should he go to the NFL? We're kind of grading the offense today, spending time, asking the fans, listeners to participate in our show. We were looking at some stats, and they're actually mind-blowing to me. And I know that stats don't tell all the stories, but they do tell some of the story. Jalen Milroe in SEC games, he had 5 touchdown passes. He has not thrown a passing touchdown since Tennessee game. He's not thrown a passing touchdown since Tennessee game. He had 5 touchdowns total in all the SEC games and 10 interceptions. That grabs my attention.
You and I had this discussion a few weeks ago. I think we were texting, and the thing that I saw it in his eyes against Oklahoma. He lost it. It happens to I've seen it happen to every quarterback in the history of the game. Something happened that he lost it. He lost it maybe only for a small amount of time, but he lost it. He lost his confidence. He lost his belief. He lost everything for that game. Now, when he came back and played against Auburn, did he get it back? He played better, I think. But sometimes it takes some time. Sometimes it takes a little bit more. I don't know, when I look at him, and I'm sure that, his people that represent him will figure it out, and they'll say, all right, you're going to be a second-round guy or you're going to be a third-round guy, whatever it's going to be, that if you go to the draft, somebody's going to take a chance just because, he can run, he can throw the ball, he can do everything that they want the guy to be able to do. He's just not consistent. And so is he going to be a top 10 pick in the draft now? No. Is he going to be a first-round guy? Probably not, but maybe so. Who knows? So I think that you look at it because when you get out of the first round, you get into the second and the third round, there's the good and the bad. The good and the bad part is that you're going to go somewhere probably and sit. You're going to learn the NFL game, and then you're going to be able to get a new contract faster than if you were a first-round pick. And so, I think it's just a matter of, number one, is that who the Alabama coaches want back to be the quarterback? Do they want him to be the guy? I don't know that answer. It seems like that maybe it would be an obvious, easy answer, but maybe it's not. And does he believe that he can sit there and he can get better? Because I thought early in the year, I thought he was a lot better. You and I, we had that conversation. I thought he was a lot better earlier in the year, but something somewhere along the way happened that he lost a little bit of confidence in what he was doing. I don't know if it was physical. I don't know if it was mental. I don't know what it was, but I saw it. I saw it in his body language. And, and sometimes guys never get it back. You just don't know. But, I guess we'll see here before long.
I got a friend of mine that played in the National Football League, and he's a guy that he preaches to me all the time. I mean, if he said this to me one time, he said it to me a million times. He said, I'd love for colleges, they spend money on everything. I mean, every nutrition bar that they can possibly get their hands on. He said, I would love to see them develop, because it's the most complex position out there, and I don't think you're going to argue with me. He said to have an individual quarterback coach to work fundamentally with these coaches, these quarterbacks. Well, he said, I would love to see them work on these fundamentals to make them better, and then don't put so much pressure on the OC. He said he's got a lot of things to do.
Well, I'll completely 100% disagree with your friend.
Okay.
And especially I'll completely disagree with 90% of the NFL guys. The NFL guys are a joke, in my opinion. They blame everything on the colleges. College coaches blamed high school coaches. Here's the reality of it. Every single coach in the country in college has a quarterback coach that coaches fundamentals. As a matter of fact, they've probably got two. They've got young guys that do it. They've got quarterback coaches that do it. The offensive coordinator may or may not. Me personally, I've worked their ass off on fundamentals every single day to where that they couldn't stand me. The footwork drills that I do to make a quarterback effective in the pocket are mind-blowing. One of the reasons Jared Goff, you read all the comments about him before he went into the draft, it was all about how his pocket presence and about how he could avoid the rush without running. He could find, he could go through read progressions from 3 to 4 to 5 that nobody else was doing. It's because I worked his ass off. I mean, I busted his butt every day. So these NFL guys that come over and go, well, they don't understand the NFL game. They don't have anybody. Let me tell you, the NFL coaching is a joke compared to college coaching and compared to high school coaching. You got a lot of great players that get there. It's different. The games used to be dramatically different, but now the NFL has turned into college football. The NFL has had to learn the college system because today's quarterback is different. The old ideas of a guy being 6'4" and standing in the pocket and never moving, being a statue, those days are gone. It's unusual. One of the things that they've got to be able to do is they've got to be able to move a little bit. It's a different game than what it used to be. And college coaches do teach fundamentals. Now, here's the thing. Here's the biggest issue that's happened with quarterback play. Today, there are a million quarterback gurus who are out there that are taking parents, and if Johnny doesn't, come and get a quarterback guru, he's never going to be any good, so we're paying $100 an hour for Johnny to go out and get taught by this. Then he's going to his high school coach, and he's getting taught something different. Then he's going to somebody else and he's getting taught. The kid has no idea what to think. They have no clue what to do. And there are a million people giving ideas, and it needs to be that whoever it is that is coaching in that system, that needs to be the quarterback coach. And what happens, these college kids, they go off in the off season, they go off and get trained by somebody else. And then they come back to college, and whatever it is that they're doing within their system may not be what he got trained in the off season. So it is a cluster of ineptitude, egos, and money grabbers. So, no offense, but the NFL people, most of those guys, I don't believe in anything that they do.
Great comment. Hey, Coach Tony Franklin, if you want that type of information, it's CoachTF.com, CoachTF.com. There is a lot of comprehensive stuff if you're a high school coach and you're looking to maybe make some changes. A lot of the high school seasons have wrapped up. The Tony Franklin system, you can check out the website. I think you'll find a lot of great information, CoachTF.com. Coach Tony Franklin, great conversation. Thank you for being a part of our show.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Coach Tony Franklin right there with us. All right, we'll go back to phone calls. Tommy and Romulus, Pat, and we'll take your calls. One line available, 205-342-9904. We'll talk the offensive side of the football. He shared some opinions and looked at it from a coaching perspective. We'll ask George Teague to not just grade the offense, we'll ask him to give some thoughts on the defense. We'll move to the defensive side of the football, and then we'll wrap it up on Thursday with more of an overall score. Right now we go to Tommy and Romulus. Tommy Thunder is his name.
Yes, it is.
How are you?
I'm great. I was called by somebody on Narcissville the other morning, and I think I'm going to become one. I'm going to give myself a title now. Lord Tommy Thunder of Romulus. How does that sound?
I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to meet my people tonight. I'm going to go watch.
I was told the other day that I can't tell you who, but they're a big fan of you. You've got like a small fan club that's growing in Tuscaloosa.
I'll have to go meet them tonight too. First time ever. I'm going to go watch Sipsey Valley play basketball for the first time. I've never been in the gym.
Well, no, different. I know there's a group out there. I mean, you taking like selfies and photos and all of this different stuff. But no, I was told I can't say who because I would be giving out the secret. But
well, sure, I understand.
And yesterday you made a lot of friends with that Miami of Ohio comment.
Well, yeah, it's the truth. I could say something worse to get me more lint, stomach lint, or navel lint, or pocket lint. Okay. Coach from Iowa Habit moaned and groaned about us getting the kicker.
He did.
I said, yeah, but guess what? I'm going to tell you, there's bias, and people say, oh, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. Our kicker last year should have won the Lou Grossman Award. There ain't no doubt about it. Now, you can see the bias. Because that kicker we had was good, but he wasn't great. We got from Miami.
That's a great point. Graham Nicholson was a solid kicker, but how he beat out Will Reichard last year?
Oh, I just told you, bias. Yeah. Like Rich from Atlanta or Mobile, wherever I get mixed up. Robert from Mobile. I apologize, Robert. He called being old and getting old-timers. He made the point. You can be a homer. You can be biased. But don't let it discriminate from being truthful and righteousness and fair. So he made a great point yesterday, yeah. But, I just watched that and heard that. I'm like, yeah, really? Yeah, it's really showing up. Yeah. Well, so I have a fan club. Well, can I ask you a personal favor then? When I get shot walking out of a hotel room or somewhere, you can be one of my pallbearers?
Well, no, this individual was actually super, super positive of you. I mean, they were. They highlighted your strengths. I mean, they talked about how.
I live in the dark ages. Yeah. I don't have internet, but I'm very intelligent.
Well, and this particular person says every time he comes in the office, he brings books.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that.
Well, yeah.
You're a book guy. So.
But
you absorb information.
Well, yeah.
Your listener comprehension skills are off the charts.
It's funny. I don't want to brag on me. I was never an A, B student. And sometimes it took me a long time to grasp concept in math and other things. But once I grasp it, I don't forget it. I might forget a little part of it, but 95% of it, I forget. Like, I've told people, and they think I'm being funny at times, I might forget your name. I can tell you who you're married to, how many children you got, what's your dog's name, how ugly your grandchildren look. I said, so-and-so, I know your last name. I'm gone stupid. You got to tell me your first name. And they think I'm being funny. I said, no, I'm being dead serious. Help me out. And that drives me insane when I have that happen to me. I can tell you all about yourself. He lives in Tokyo. He lives in Butte. What's your first name? And somebody said, well, you know me for 45 years. I said, I'm having one of these moments. Don't leave me hanging. Tell me. And they tell me, oh, I'm sorry, so-and-so. I had the moment. So, you know. But no, Tony Franklin made a bunch of great points, and we discussed about the money.
We did. And I think, you know, I was thinking about this from a lot of different ways. I mean, NIL can be definitely a good thing. It can also be a thing that can guide players. Let's say, hypothetically, that you're at Popcorn State University and you don't like the guy that you have. You can say, well, we're out of money, man. We're out of money. We're out of money. Well, hold on. I thought you just bought that big 5-star recruit. Thought you were out of money. Well, I'm going to put my name in the transfer portal. I'm going in the portal.
Well, it's going to be now, like they discuss on other shows I listen on your wonderful, fine radio program or station. You're going to start making these kids sign contracts. Oh, no, that is a type of slavery. I went, no, the NFL does it. Major League Baseball do it. The NBA do it. National Hockey League. Even the soccer do it. And I'm like, all right, you were for us for 2 years. And you're going to do this and this and this. And guess what? The NCAA is going to lose more power. Oh, you only can have 15 practices before a bowl game, or you're going to have 20 practices before the first football game. I'm a coach said, bump you, NCAA. No, I'm going to have my quarterback throwing twice a week to the receivers and the running back twice a week during the off season. We're going to be doing it April, May. We're going to be doing this and this. They're getting paid. Screw you. You have no authority. They're not amateur athletes anymore. You have lost your status in CAA. So, I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. And you're going to be in the film room, and a lot of these kids, they might teach them how to talk in front of a microphone, how to carry the stuff, but they're going to spend 4 or 6 hours, not in class every day, or tutors, or 10 hours. They're going to be watching film, and they're going to be learning the correct technique to do the job right. And guess what? These little gurus of those things, parents spend $100 to $200 an hour telling little Johnny, you throw this ball when he goes to college and back to his high school coach. He said, that's not right.
All right.
And go ahead.
Give me a grade, Tommy. Professor Tommy, I got to reel you back in. Give me a grade. Offensive side of the football. Tommy Thunder, 12 games in, regular season has now concluded. What grade would you give this offensive side of the football?
A B minus.
B minus. Well, you guys, I mean, okay.
Well, no, I mean, he has, like we discussed other times this morning, he don't have the offensive line that he wants. Everybody said, well, he ain't doing this at Washington. This. I said, well, yeah, it clicked his second year. First year, he had to get the bugs out. He's doing the same thing here. And I'm going to get on people to quit.
All right, we now have a.
What?
Let's go through this. Greg Sankey is against the rash changes to the current college football format and selection process. He has now spoken with an interview with Yahoo Sports on Tuesday. The SEC commissioner acknowledged his 12-team format once helped create the 2021 was intended for a world that featured 5 somewhat Power 5 conferences, not the current landscape of 4 power leagues. What does that have to do anything with it? We're seeing the stressing points that we knew would be there, but I actually think they are as and more volatile than we thought. He said from the Bellagio Casino, the resort in Las Vegas, where he attended the National Football Fanduel's annual awards dinner on Tuesday night. We have a whole different conference dynamic. See what happens, end quote.
You know what I say to that?
I mean, is that really?
He's a yahoo, okay? I'm being nice. All right, you go to Las Vegas to have your banquet.
All right, hold on. And by the way, we got Antonio Langham going into that College Football Hall of Fame that will be officially, he's already been inducted. I think this is the awards banquet. But however, Sankey confirmed that the changes to the CFB can be made as soon as next year's playoff. But most and all, if not all of those changes are expected to require unanimous among the 10 FBS conferences, as the league remains bound to a previous agreement that expires after the 2025 season. The leagues agreed in the spring on a 6-year extension through 2031. That does not require unanimous there. All right, so I mean, this is a big nothing burger, if you ask me.
That's right. You know what this is? Lawyer garbage or jargon, meaning jack crap. They kicking the freaking can down the road, just like I got. That's all it means. It's a nothing burger. You're correct. It's lawyer effing up the system again.
There was going to be a problem, but we've seen that problem. Now things are not created equally and formed equally. Glory. I mean, Greg, did you say anything other than a bunch of stuff that we already knew? We want you to take up for the SEC. We want you to take up for the SEC.
Well, see, here's the problem. All right. Everybody's so tickled pink about Alabama being left out.
Yeah.
All right. But you heard how Dabo praised SMU and all this. We don't praise each other. We fight. Lane Kiffin was named, all like that. And he loves it. He don't promote the SEC like he should. He kissed the Big Ten behind. Okay? I'm sorry. That is a socialist conference. Been like that for 60 years. In the late 60s, when Ohio State got beat by Michigan in the great game in 69, Ohio State was defending the national championship. But Ohio State was going to win the Big Ten, but they couldn't go to the Rose Bowl. They had the stupid rule that you went one year, you had to sit out the next year. That's why we have so many freaking little national championships, because they didn't go to bowl games. At least Alabama went to bowl games and won that on the field. They didn't have to depend on little riders from the north or biased or prejudiced people voting for other schools. So that's why I never have faith in the committee.
No, I hear you. I hear you big time. Yeah, and we can get on that rant another day. Tommy, I got to run, man. I'm at 44, and I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right, Road Tide. Talk to you later.
Right back to you. We'll talk to Antonio Langham coming up a little bit later. We'll go to Trip. Actually, we'll go to Pat coming up next, then Trip, then Blueberry Steve in Montreal, Canada. We're grading the offensive side of the football with your calls, 205-342-9904. TheStandardBama.com, home of the 20-inch pizza pie, pepperoni, meat lovers, cheese. Design your own. TheStandardBama.com, full-service restaurant available by DoorDash. Visit them. The Standard on University Boulevard, home of the 20-inch pizza pie, pepperoni, meat lovers, cheese. Design your own. TheStandardBama.com. We'll continue with more of the game. Todd, 100.9, 1230. All right, we welcome you right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Let's go to Pat. Pat, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Hey, Ryan Fowler.
How are you?
Man, tell me something about when have we got to be at 105? Have we got to be about 105 before spring practice starts or after spring practice is over?
No, I think that was Jackson and I were talking about this during. I thought they put that on hold. The 105, did they not?
I don't know. I was under the impression that we were at around 130 with the new early signing period, not counting.
Okay,
if we pick up 2 or 3 more between now.
I think in the SEC they kept it at 85, but I don't think they've got a. I don't think.
So they're telling the rest of college football to kiss our butt that we're gonna have as many walk-ons as we want.
No, you're not listening to me. But I think they did not. There was a discussion that they were going. I mean, because remember now, the initial discussion is that we were going to go to 105 total.
105.
You could do and increase some of the scholarship numbers. Well, then they backed that off. I believe the SEC put in some new parameters. That was back in November, even though we were all caught up in the season. I believe they backed that thing down. I think they're waiting on more of this House lawsuit to be settled. I was going back. Let's see here. This was in November. Yeah, it's still. Pat, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you to finish it.
Yeah, was something was going.
You were looking something up.
Something was good. It was Ross Dellinger reporting back in November that the SEC has set a football scholarship of 85 for the 2025. The league told Yahoo Sports in a response to a request that is 20 fewer than the max 105 structure there. As football coaches can recruit now to build their roster, it was important to provide them parameters to manage the interim period. So we're in an interim period as we await the final ruling for the House settlement, which would address how many scholarships are managed going forward. So it's 85 scholarships. So, and with an overall roster side is to be established by the settlement once it's approved. Does that make sense? So it should. It should. Okay, in other words, Pat, let me make this simple for you. There's no changes for 2025. How about that? Would that be easier?
Okay. So we're going to continue to have 30, 35 walk-ons.
Okay.
Well, that's my question.
No. Okay. For the 2025 season, it is going to stay the same as in past years. But once the House lawsuit will settle officially, I believe they've already agreed to some of the principles. I think it is finalized at some point in this year, maybe the first part of the year, could be in the early spring. Then we're going to know a little bit more, but the 2025 will not be impacted. So, no, you're not going to have to trim down your roster for 2025. You may have to for 2026, but that will be the same.
That was my question, Ryan. Because
and that happened on November the 7th, so not a lot of us were.
Okay. Well, being that reason I bring that up is earlier I'd heard talked about the people said that we were at 130 with not counting the attendance in the portal now, but we were at 130 total with the add-ons that we just had for the early signing period. And that in order to get down to 105, that, roughly 25 people had to go in the portal or somewhere or NFL, whatever, the different things that coach, way coach used to process people out. I mean, but we were way over on limits.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I haven't added all the walk-ons, but I would assume that. But schools may still, the way that that's written, they may have rosters up to 105, 85 scholarships with the 25 walk-ons, but they will be the same according to this for the 2025 season. So in other words, it was not implemented before you could set some parameters around the 2025 season. So you pretty much stayed with the same. So in other words, nothing really has changed. So if that happens, then who knows what they'll do. I mean, but trying to predict.
I think we have roughly 102. Yeah, don't we have like 102, 105 on roster anyway?
I don't. I thought you said we had 130. You just said it.
No, I said there's 130 at this moment. Not necessarily on roster, but 130 in the program.
You're going through preferred walk-ons, and I mean, there's a.
I'm going through the people that are on campus that are in the football building. Yes.
I mean,
that's what the that adds on the new ones just came in.
Please tell me this this hasn't kept you up at night because you sound worried. You sound like you got some angst about this.
I mean it's a question that
it's a
needs
question,
to
but
be addressed.
But is it
some
really
people's going to wind up going somewhere, Ryan, for sure?
Okay, but I mean, you sound like you're literally, about to go down to the mayor's office or something. I mean, you sound very upset.
Well, there has to be. And speaking of the mayor's office, I think Tommy from Romulus should get the mayor's title of Romulus. I love Tommy. I think Tommy's an absolutely fabulous caller. His call was very good. And but we got to have some, but anyway, for 2025, it's no big concern.
There's no changes according to Ross Dellinger on November the 7th. And Jackson and I, it's kind of funny that you brought that up. And we talked literally for about 60 seconds yesterday about it, and we looked it up. But Pat, I don't have enough time to give you your grade, so we'll have to skip you if that's okay. So we spent.
My question is real quick. When we going to announce a winner, man?
Like we always do, Pat. We do it every week on the Friday. We do score prediction.
Okay,
we didn't have a score prediction. We didn't have a score. I said that yesterday.
Okay, last week. Okay, I'll follow you. I'll follow you for that game. Okay, this coming up Friday, we'll know.
We will.
Okay.
And
appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat. Pat,
have a blessed day.
Worried about the 105. He was yesterday worried about the grocery count. Today he's worried about the 105. Walk-ons are a very important role of your football team. But there's nothing changing for the 2025 season. Who knows? I mean, this lawsuit that's going, that's why they think they held everything in check, because a lot of this is still kind of to be determined. We'll continue with more of the game. We'll talk to George T coming up in about 40 minutes. We'll take Trip coming up next, then Blueberries. Welcome you right back into the game. T-Town Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. We'll talk to George T coming up in about 20 minutes. We'll talk about Antonio Langham going into the College Football Hall of Fame. I have a chance to feature him, but we're also going to take your phone calls at 205-342-9904. Let's go 205-342-9904. We'll go to Trip, and then we'll go to Blueberry Steve. Trip, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Yes, it is. Thank you for taking my call. Hey, listen, I wanted to call about Milroe, and I do want to ask you a question really quick.
Okay.
So I didn't hear what Sankey said, but you basically said he didn't say much.
Yeah, it was a big nothing burger. It was a big nothing burger.
All right, cool. So they had a meeting on January the 20th. All the commissioners and the college presidents and who knows whoever else is in there. And they're going to talk about this playoff. They made a 2-year deal. The way I understand it is the first 2 years, it's a done deal. So we can't do anything. Of course, everything can change. So I would love if you could get Ross Dellinger or Heather Dinage or someone like that, or you figure it out, because it's been bothering me. I don't think that they can change it. Hopefully they can tweak it, maybe with the seating or whatever, Well,
they said, the first 2 years. So this would be this year and next year. They can't do anything until after the 2025 season.
All right. So that is not even a chance. Yeah, I don't even know why they're meeting.
Well, now, hold on. All right. So, the commissioner acknowledges that the 12-team created was there. The most recent conference realignment, and maybe that's what he's saying is the conference realignment, because some of this was agreed upon in 2020, was designed to feature a 5 Power 5 conference, not the current landscape of the 4 power conferences.
Yeah, so hopefully that means that they may be able to tweak it, but we'll see on that. We have leverage. SEC, after next year, they can just do whatever they want and get with the Big Ten and all that. But I was just wondering if it can be changed or not. And I know, like, Ross Dellinger, and I don't look up in athletic and Sports Illustrated.
Well, he said, according to Ross Dellinger, this is the big part that really will grab you. It says, Greg Sankey is against rash changes to the current college football playoff format and selection processes.
Okay. That's fine. So he's not worried about the seeding. And, everybody's talking about the seeding and the rankings and the automatic qualifiers.
I can read the quote again. I can't make anything out of it. Greg Sankey is against rash changes to the current college football playoff format and selection process. He says, see what happens, he says, watch the games unfold, he contends, and then perhaps consider alterations. Hey,
right,
Greggy,
well, cool.
hey, Gregory, your league got screwed.
I hear you.
Gregory.
Man, we yeah,
I mean,
Ryan, Greg has done wonders for. I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody thinks he has done wonders, as you say. I mean, we've
always labeled him as the most powerful person in the world of college athletics. Right. On Sunday morning, I don't think many people in this southern part of the region agreed with him. And neither did they agree on Saturday night, because Kirby Smart pretty much took him to the woodshed right there in front of national TV.
What happened on that? I didn't hear that, because he didn't congratulate him or something.
No. Well, I mean, matter of fact, maybe we can. Jay, you should find the audio with Kirby Smart and Greg Sankey, if you can.
Yeah.
She's busy, but let me see if I can get her here in a second. She's answering the phone and getting everybody lined up. But yeah, so
we can talk about Miro real quick.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. Why don't we move on and I'll see if I can get them in just a second there and line up more phone calls.
I'd like to hear that. But so Miro, listen, I love him, and listen, I hope he's great, and I just don't think he's for DeBoer's offense. But, I mean, we'd love to have him back. But I don't know. I think DeBoer would like to just move on and get his people in. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I would rather, instead of paying him $1 million for NIL next year, let him go on. Listen, he's better than Anthony Richardson. So, I mean, let's just, so – I think
you say that, and I said that. Okay, I said that. No. I've said that too. I went back and looked at the stats. I don't know if the stats are on our side.
Yeah, I heard your 5 and
20. No. Anthony Richardson at Florida in 2022 threw for 17 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. His completion percentage was awful. Milroe is much more precision, but he's also very hesitant with the football too. There was times that they had wide open wide receivers and he just wouldn't throw it. So you do have a high completion percentage. And matter of fact, his completion percentage last year and his completion percentage this year were 1/10 of a point difference. That's it. He was a 65.8 last year, was a 65.9 this year.
Yeah.
But does that really factor in? Because sometimes he just won't pull the.
Yeah, I know it. I think his head is
well, you just had a quarterback coach, Tony Franklin, who said the same thing. Yeah, he said that he said you lose them sometimes, and it's hard to get them back.
Yeah, that's why I think he probably should move on. Even though he was probably our best option there, but hey,
no, he was the best option. I don't think there's even debatable.
Yeah, I'm talking about for next year.
Next year. Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. Okay, hypothetically, Trip. Let's say that Milroe decides to come back. You're going to lose multiple quarterbacks. I don't think there's any way. I was absolutely shocked that you were able to keep a lot of these guys on campus as it was.
Ty and Dalen,
Austin Mack, obviously. Come here. Dylan Lonergan is another guy. Now you got Keelan Russell. To me, what would be best for this team is for him to go in the NFL draft.
Yep.
Because if you let's just say hypothetical, which I'm trying to say this because people jump on the words, is if he went in the portal, that'd be a bad look, right? You don't want him to do that. You want him to go to the NFL. And I think he probably will go to the NFL. And I think he will test completely off the charts. He will get in front of the NFL Combine. He will blow people away with his personality. When he runs the 40-yard dash, he's going to be one of the fastest quarterbacks that we've had in a number of years. I mean, his measurables are going to be off the charts. His 225 bench press, everything. I mean, he's going to test, and there's somebody there as a general manager is going to fall in love with him.
Yeah, and I agree, and that hopefully I think that'll happen. That'll be best for him, and it'll be best for the Alabama football program. So, I hear you. We'll see what happens next year. I mean, poor Ty Simpson, man. He's been holding out, so hopefully they give him a chance at spring, and I think they will. It'll be between him and Austin Mack and the new guy, and we'll see. I mean, I hope that we don't pull anybody else from the portal at quarterback and fog it all up. But I don't know, because I don't think there's a big winner out there.
I mean, I think we've got one of the most talented quarterback rooms in the country. Do you not? I'm talking about top to bottom. I mean, you're bringing in number 2 overall player in Keelan Russell. You've got Austin Mack, who was a 4-star, but he was a reclassification. He would have been a 5-star guy, according to many people that are in the recruiting side of things. You've got Dylan Lonergan, who is a gunslinger. You've got Ty Simpson, that was a backup that played a significant role. I think you look at it, you say the 4 guys, and let's fight this thing out.
I'm with you.
Tripp.
Good deal.
Professor Tripp, we're asking for your grade. How would you grade this offense for this year?
For what they had and what they had to deal with, results matter.
Sure.
So I give them a B-.
Everybody's a B-. Everybody. We've not had one person that has any variance on a B or B-. Are you guys just being nice to this coaching staff? Which I like it. But I mean, hey,
I don't.
Listen, if you cats would have been my college biology teachers, I would have been in med school, man.
Yeah, well, hopefully you didn't have to take freaking biochemistry.
Biochemistry will separate the men from the boys.
And thermodynamics. But yeah, I hear you. But listen, I appreciate you taking my call. They can change anything or not. I mean, I guess, I don't know, anything can be changed, but I was hoping that they could at least tweak it for next year, but I don't know, maybe not. I think you have to have a unanimous decision, and that was my main question. I think that you have to have a unanimous decision. Notre Dame and everybody else, every conference has, and the Mountain West chairman has to approve to change it for next year. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I mean, I know they're not going to go crazy on it, but I'm just hoping that they can tweak it a little bit, especially on the seedings and the automatic bids and the buys and stuff. But I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, may the best guy, man. B-. Thanks, Tripp. Hope you have a great day. We'll break here. We'll continue with more. I do remind you about the Wharf. If you're looking for a new pair of boots, Justin, Tony Lama, Red Wing, Georgia, Double H, Timberline, Laredo, and many more. It is the Wharf, the work-in Western wear for the entire family. It is the Wharf. Justin, Tony Lama, Red Wing, Georgia, Double H, Timberline, Laredo, and many more. Wrangler, Levi, Lee, Carhartt clothing, Rocky clothing, all the camo options, cold weather apparel. You know, even though it's beautiful on the outside today, we know that cold weather is going to arrive here in West Alabama. We'll continue to have that cold weather. You can have that cold weather apparel at the Wharf. McFarland Boulevard, you pass by one of our great sponsors, El Gran Patron. On the right-hand side of the road, Winn-Dixie Shopping Center, you will find our good friends right there on the right. It is the Wharf. If you pass by the blue plate, you have went too far. The Workin Western headquarters for the entire family. We'll continue with more of the game. Right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa, tied on 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
It is, Ryan Fowler. I just got one question for you, man.
Okay.
Have you heard whether Miro's coming back or not?
You asked me this yesterday. I told you that I didn't know.
Well, I mean, you got inside sources, fella.
Well, I know, but I can't share everything they tell me.
Can't share everything they tell you.
I can't.
Well, I'm going to ask you this, Fowler. I'm going to ask you this. If Miro comes back and he starts QB, what's saying this offense is going to be any better than it was this year, Fowler?
I think it's a year in the system. I mean, we're a year in the system.
I'm being honest with you, Fowler. I've been an Alabama fan for a long time. But if he comes back, I can't watch more of this fella. He's got me stressed, man. I'm going to have to take a break from Alabama football, dude. Like, seriously. Like, it's not good for my health. Like, I'm losing sleep. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I can't take another year of Miro quarterback. I was talking about the other week. I said, I got to get. If Miro comes back, I turn off football. College football season will not exist with me next year because I can't take another year of this fella. It's ridiculous. It really is. I mean, we got you played that clip of Kalen DeBoer saying our wide receivers were unselfish. Yeah, they're unselfish because they know that Miro can't run DeBoer's offense. DeBoer knows Miro can't run his offense like he wants. But we're going to continue to go back to the well, man. Why can't there be an open competition? Why can't, if Miro tries to come back, why can't Kevin DeBoer open the competition up and get a transfer in there and somebody put us in better position to throw the football? Why can't we do that? What's so hard about getting somebody in there that can throw the football? I mean, really, what's so hard? I don't understand that. We tried this kid for 2 years and it hadn't worked. It has not worked. You've had your day in the sun. It's time to move on. It's time to move to bigger and better things. That's what it's time to do. It's time for Keelan Russell to step up and we go get a transfer from the transfer portal. Go get Matt Moss. Go get Moss or something. Go get anybody. Anybody can throw the football. I mean, the transfer portal got them all in there. I don't understand why we can't do that, pal. Why? Why can't we? Instead, we go.
Can we look back? I want to ask you your grade. What grade would you give it?
Give what? The offense?
Yeah.
Under the circumstances this year, Fowler, I give them a C minus.
Which one?
C minus.
C minus?
C minus.
Okay. You're the lowest grade so far. Is anybody shocked?
But I'm just saying, fella, it's crazy. This is insanity, man. And we're crying about missing the college football playoffs, but Miro is the reason we missed the college football playoffs. Because we can't throw the football, man. And you think anything's going to change next year if he comes back? No, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to load up the box, fella. They're going to put 9, 10 guys in the box, and they're going to take away the deep ball, and that's how you beat Alabama. Everybody knows that, Fowler. Everybody knows how to beat us. But yet we continue to think, well, we can go with this guy, and we'll somehow find a way to win. Well, we didn't find a way to win this week. We missed the playoffs. I'm telling you, Fowler, I don't know how long DeBoer's got in Tuscaloosa, but, I mean, Miro could put him on the hot seat. I'm going to tell you that now because he lost 3 games this year. If he loses 3 games again, I mean, that third season, they're going to be wanting some more. They're going to be wanting more out of him. I'm going to be honest with you, Fowler.
Okay.
That's the truth now.
All right.
I'm sick of hearing everybody. When Miro comes back, we're in trouble, Fowler. We are in trouble. People they're blind to see this. I've been warning y'all for 2 years, have I not, about this guy? For 2 years, I've been warning everybody on the show about this guy. And everybody says, no, it'll get better, It ain't got no better.
Maybe you're the brave enough to say it. Most of us are not brave enough to say it. Maybe that's what it is.
No, it ain't going to get no better, though, man. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. But y'all think somehow, some way, miracle, it's going to get better with Milroe. And it's not. It's not going to get – I don't understand why we can't show this kid the door. Even Damian Harris. I looked up on Touchdown Alabama magazine, I think it was, or it was another article I read. Damian Harris says he thinks Milroe needs to transfer to another school if he decides to come back to college because he thinks that
I haven't seen that.
I've seen it. It was on Touchdown. It was on an article on Facebook I read.
Yeah, but I read a bunch of junk on Facebook, so I'm not saying it. But I got to run, Joseph. I appreciate it, man. C-, I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. We'll continue with more of the game. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Oh, man, was a jolly happy soul with a corncob pipe and a button nose and 2 blue eyes made out of coal.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, heading through the 2059 interchange from 359 to Cottondale. No delays for your evening ride. McFarland Boulevard traffic between Coker and Jack Warner Parkway, 15 minutes there. Highway 69, seeing a 10-minute ride between McFarland Boulevard.
This holiday, give a gift as unique as your child's dreams. An iSave 529 plan. It's the perfect present for any future. Register by December 31st at iowa529contest.com for your chance to win an account contribution.
Who are having the best poop of their life. I mean, you're not going to use the bathroom with them, but you get what I'm saying. Squatty Potty, the #1 way to go number 2.
Light up those phone lines on The Game with Ryan Fowler. 205-342-9904. You're inside the game on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how he came to life one day. There must
let's go to Terry in Richmond, Virginia. Terry, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Well, it was, Ryan.
It was. It was. Now
great.
It's gone?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, let me tell you. I was so excited after hearing George Teague, and we're celebrating Antonio Langham. And then this asshat, Jacob, whatever his name is. Hey, Joseph, lose this number. You are a disgrace to Alabama fans.
Amen.
You are a disgrace, and get the hell out of here, man.
Get him, Terry. Get him.
This is ridiculous.
You're saying stuff that I can't say. Go ahead. Continue.
Well, hey, it's just pitiful. We've heard you. You're a one-trick pony.
It's rinse and repeat every day. Every day. Every day.
Yes. Every call. We've heard it all year. We know you are not a Svengali telling us, you're not a guru, a quarterback guru, telling us that he's got limitations. We got eyes, Joseph. Go away. Find another show. Get on Facebook. You can do all your crap over there, but we're tired of hearing it. I mean, it's ridiculous.
What grade would you give this team? I'm limited right here at the end of the show.
Well, hey, I wouldn't give them a big grade. You're talking about the whole team or
the offense? Just the offense. Just the offense.
Offense. See, yeah, we were just up and down. So
it's like a roller coaster, big roller coaster.
Yes. Defense, I give a B. For what we lost.
We'll do defense tomorrow. We'll do defense tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to talk about Antonio real quick. Sure,
please do.
God, most iconic team I think we ever had is the 1992 team, and he was the leader. I mean, that, the 78, the 20, those teams are iconic Alabama teams. And 92, I think, is at the pinnacle. And, man, you talk about somebody, MVP. I love that guy. And we go up to Knoxville to play them in Knoxville, and they wanted to beat us so bad. And we go up there. We had beaten them since 87 or 86, and they knew they were going to get us that year. And Antonio on national TV said, Tennessee, we own Tennessee. And I asked him about it, and he told me that was true. And he told me what Gene Stallings told him in the locker room, before they took the field that day. He said, 43, what are you doing? But anyway, and then later in the season, Mississippi State, we're over there fighting for our life. And he blocks a punt and recovers it for a touchdown. We win. The next week we play Auburn. We're 0-0 at halftime. That's the day Pat Dye was last game. He intercepts a pass. We take it in. We end up winning 17-0. Then in the SEC championship game, the first one against Florida, he intercepted that. So
I'm out of time.
That guy is the MVP of all time.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate you. Roll Tide. Thank you.
Roll Tide.
Antonio Langham going into the College Football Hall of Fame. Let's take Ellis right here for just about 20 seconds. Ellis, let it rip. Go. Ellis.
B minus.
B minus. B minus. What grade would you give Joseph's phone call, Ellis?
They just ain't no grade for that.
Incomplete.
Yeah. Incomplete.
Failure to communicate. Incomplete.
Right.
Get him out of here. Yeah. All right, Ellis. Be good, man.
Out of here.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Ryan fellas.
Roll Tide. All right. Big thanks to Jaisha. Big thanks to Simon, as always, for being a part of our show. And we will remind you that we call this program The Game, and the only way you win the big game, the game of life, is to walk daily with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Good night, T-Town.
Thank you for listening to The Game.
An O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card is the perfect gift for that hard-to-buy-for person. Give the gift of convenience from O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.